If you want this types of video, then subscribe our YouTube channel and press the bell icon for latest updates.
Hello students, I'm your teacher and I will start teach you for the subject is education, understanding human development. I will start in this video on the topic of Unit 1, Lesson 1 Human Development, Characteristics and Stages. Let's begin. Introduction. Understanding human improvement is a diligent and complex undertaking. It covers the whole life expectancy of a person. This length begins with the pre-birth stage and finishes with death of person. Over the course of life, an individual embraces and creates explicit characteristics, capacities, qualities, interests, and so forth. This multitude of explicit kinds of characteristics, capacities, qualities, interests, and so on decide and impact the way of behaving and way of life of a person. Laying it out plainly, we can comprehend human improvement through different phases of human existence range and the particular attributes of those stages. There are two significant parts of human advancement that assists us with grasping excursion of improvement completely. The principal perspective, times, incorporates the improvement of attributes, under which an individual creates well-being, information, and ability obtaining capacities. The other perspective, times, incorporates the advancement of the qualities, under which a singular purposes the capacities of well-being, information, and ability securing in useful exercises of social and political life. Both the significant parts of human advancement make sense of the qualities that are obtained and ingested at various phases of human turn of events. An individual creates with these two perspectives and gains the significance of life. From the outset, individual fosters the capacities of different ways of behaving, social jobs, language, and so forth, in which social climate and actual development assume a supportive part. In this cycle, individual practices these capacities and furthermore amends himself/herself when he commits errors. Individual learns and has these characteristics, qualities and capacities, and afterward involves them in his/her social, political, financial, and social life. For a model, we can check out at a singular's excursion of life. At the point when an individual is conceived, begins the main excursion of his turn of events. All encounters of life are new. As he doesn't utilizes language verbally yet communicates for himself/herself through cry, chuckle, demonstrating at things, and so on. However, as he grows up, figures out how to complete little words by paying attention to others' discussions. In the following stage, he likewise learns the importance of those words, their utilization, and begins to impersonate sentences. At the point when he procures an elevated degree of language capacities, utilizes it to do complex social connections and jobs. As he can pass meaning verbally on to other and can likewise comprehend the importance other expect to impart. People become ready to spread their way of life and embrace the characteristics of different societies. Here, it is additionally critical to figure out that both the cycles of getting abilities and utilizing them move contrastingly in the underlying phases of human turn of events, yet as he moves to the subsequent stages of advancement, embraces new capacities and utilizes them in the public eye. Does advancement imply development? Multiple times we figure out the idea of improvement and idea of development as equivalent word, however it is inaccurate. Though development is quantitative in nature and connects with actual perspectives, improvement is a bigger idea which consolidates development as an aspect inside itself. We can comprehend the contrast among development and improvement with the assistance of focuses given beneath. In the existence of an individual, the idea of development can be estimated based on quantitative estimation, though the idea of improvement can be estimated on both subjective and quantitative measures. For instance, we can notice youngsters around us in area and our home, When kid grows up, both level and weight builds ceaselessly, and we can undoubtedly quantify these changes. We can undoubtedly gauge the progressions occurred concerning level inside a particular time frame with the assistance of a standard scale. Comparatively, we can quantify his/her weight as well. Yet, to know the improvement of maternal language and advancement of feelings and their appearance of most recent half-year, quantitative measures must be utilized. We wouldn't have the option to comprehend the advancement in language and feelings with the assistance of any estimating instrument, and we want to take help of top-to-bottom perceptions and associations. Development in individual becomes steady by development, yet improvement is a long-lasting cycle. People quit developing genuinely subsequent to coming to somewhat throughout everyday life, and they develop truly till a specific age. In the event that there is no event of strange episode or illness, development begins moving towards steadiness. In any case, then again, the course of advancement go on over the course of life. For instance, we can figure out it, constant, concerning the improvement of language, interactive abilities, social attributes, insight, thoughts, rationale, feelings and so on in a person. To comprehend this idea minutely and elaboratively, we can direct the accompanying smaller than expected research. Development addresses organic changes happening in a person. Natural changes allude to the actual changes occurring in person which are connected with the advancement of the actual organ. Simultaneously, improvement address organic changes as well as different social and social factors that acquire changes the ways of behaving and contemplations of a person. An individual is a social being, as he is consistently affected by different elements of a powerful society, neighborhood, loved ones, who routinely decide and coordinate his/her considerations and ways of behaving ceaselessly. In this manner, we can say that a singular's improvement is directed by logical component. Development shows up in actual structure, so it tends to be effectively stamped. Be that as it may, then again, improvement is profound, mind-boggling and dynamic, so it doesn't show up without any problem. Subjective examination is frequently expected to grasp this intricacy and dynamics. Since development is many times connected with the actual changes in an individual, it shows itself. It can undoubtedly be recognized simply by looking. However, advancement is connected with changes that don't show up unequivocally in light of the fact that they are dynamic and subjective in nature, for example, close to home, scholarly and mental turn of events and their connected aspects. To be aware of them, you want to do broad perception. Development is one-layered, while advancement is complex. For that reason, development addresses just a single kind of changes, for example connected with actual change, while advancement contains many kinds of changes that mesh human existence into completeness. Consequently, we can comprehend that development and improvement are two distinct ideas. However, this doesn't imply that these two ideas are not connected with one another. At the point when we concentrate on both the ideas, we understand that development is one of the significant part of human turn of events. Human improvement has for quite some time been a subject of insightful interest and interest. Researchers have been introducing theories with respect to different angles, patterns and attributes of human turn of events. Clinicians have given a detailed account about the improvement of various elements of a person inside the talk of human advancement as made sense of in focuses given beneath.
I hope my all students understand the all of the topic covered by me in the above lecture. Now, I will start on the topic of different dimensions of human development. Let's begin. Actual development. Physical improvement is a significant element of human turn of events. It means actual development of a person. Since birth, numerous quantitative changes happen in an individual, for example level, width, weight and so forth. These progressions are much of the time figured out under the idea of development, but since development is likewise a significant component of advancement, it can likewise be grasped under the idea of improvement. Improvement of motor activities. When a youngster is conceived, has command over a couple of activities of his body like sucking, showing something or dominating. However, as the kid grows up, creates command over other body capability and like continuous command over fingers of the feet, control of pee and poo, control of various muscles of the feet, and so on are the great representations of early advancement of these exercises. Language development. Language improvement is a complicated cycle. A youngster learns language normally by living in family and society. He creates tuning in and oral abilities in the public eye. Vygotsky, therapist, has introduced an itemized conversation on human language improvement under which he thinks about language as a socially built expertise. As per him, as a youngster is conceived and interacts with her family and society, he progressively becomes effective in language with his perceptions and acquisitions capacities. As per etymologist Chomsky, a kid is brought into the world for certain capacities to learn language and learns language with the assistance of these capacities as he grows up. Clinician Jean Piaget have thought about language advancement as a part of scholarly turn of events. As per him, advancement of reasonable capacity is fundamental in the person before language improvement, since thoughts assume a significant part in the improvement of language. Profound development. Emotional advancement is likewise a significant part of the human turn of events. The profound characteristics foster normally in the person. A kid is brought into the world with the innate capacities to foster feelings. In the underlying stage, the kid conveys conventional psychostructures of feelings and as he grows up in contact with different socio-social establishments, creates complex feelings. In youth, an individual has capacity to communicate one feeling at a time. However, in later stages figure out how to utilize complex arrangement of feelings all at once. Profound improvement additionally implies controlling one's feelings. Social development. Social advancement alludes to the cooperation of a person with her general public and the improvement of different social ways of behaving in jobs. At the point when a kid is conceived, first attempts to speak with her family and step by step creates as a social element by noticing and speaking with individuals from the general public, school, work environment, public gatherings and so on. It is likewise important to comprehend that social improvement of an individual is connected with the advancement of a portion of her abilities and capacities. To create as a social substance, one needs to master relational abilities, coordination abilities, close to home articulation and capacity to feel and choose as indicated by the specific circumstances. These all capacities are for the most part alludes to as friendly abilities. Mental development. Cognitive improvement alludes to different scholarly cycles of a person through which he obtains the abilities of intelligent reasoning, thought handling, correspondence, perception, critical thinking, decision making and so on. Jean Piaget, a researcher of mental turn of events, has widely dealt with this part of improvement. Piaget has attempted to make sense of how youngsters foster different scholarly cycles and connect with new information and encounters. Piaget gave his hypothesis the assistance of 4 phases. These 4 phases are sensory-motor stage, pre-functional stage, concrete functional stage and formal functional stage. I hope my all students understand the all of the topic covered by me in the above lecture. Now, I will start on the topic of different stages of human development. Let's begin. Numerous clinicians have contributed their thoughts and theories from now into the indefinite future quite a while to make sense of human turn of events. A portion of these clinicians have attempted to make sense of the whole course of human improvement in a comprehensive and precise manner, while certain researchers have characterized it based on simple actual changes. Erikson and Piaget are 2 noticeable researchers among numerous who characterized human advancement exhaustively. On one hand, Erikson characterized human improvement in 8 phases, while Piaget recorded human advancement in 4 phases. Aside from these hypotheses, if we have any desire to make an efficient design of the various degrees of human turn of events, we need to make a record of characteristics and qualities that an individual procures in various life phases of his/her life. We ought to likewise recall that the speed of improvement doesn't stay same for all. At times it changes as per the climate of a person. In the accompanying focuses we can comprehend human improvement in the classes of various life stages. Pre-birth stage, the period from origination to birth, goes under this stage. This stage goes on for around 40 weeks or 9 months. In this stage a construction of human undeveloped organisms' hereditary qualities is ready. The well-being and improvement of the embryo during this period relies totally upon the well-being, way of life and diet of its mom. Outset, this phase of the human improvement is restricted from birth to the age of a year and a half. In this stage the advancement of cerebrum, improvement of rudimentary proactive tasks, advancement of rudimentary language abilities are significant. In this stage, the centerpiece of the kid's body grows all the more quickly in contrast with hands and feet. In this stage, youngsters become ready to sit with next to no help, attempt to walk and jibber-jabber. In any case, it is additionally to be recalled that for the improvement of this multitude of exercises, kids need legitimate nourishment and care. Youth, year and a half to 3 years. In this stage the kid goes through different actual changes. Arms and legs and different joints become quicker than the centerpiece of the body. This assists kid with keeping up with actual equilibrium without any problem. In this stage the child's bones start to solidify and kid figures out how to walk, gets latrine preparing, figures out how to talk and figures out how to eat food. Center youth, 3 years to 5 years. We likewise know this stage as preschool stage. This is the stage where youngsters are ready to go to class. During this time he upgrades etymological capacities. At first, he begins to comprehend the ideas of size, time, place, distance and so on. Youngster additionally embraces new feelings in which he feels responsibility for doing the errands not endorsed by the general public at this age. Yet, we likewise need to comprehend that at this stage youngsters just foster beginning types of these perplexing feelings. Adolescence, 5 years to 12 years. This period is otherwise called school time of a singular's life. He invests great measure of energy of her day in school, despite the fact that we likewise need to comprehend the setting wherein youngsters couldn't reach to school. Their casual preparation go on in the family. In this stage, a youngster figures out how to look at between himself, herself as well as other people. This correlation happen comparable to sports, test results and distinction. In this stage, the development of a kid dials back somewhat in contrast with the previous stages, yet during this time the youngster fosters the capacity to control the prior created physiological capabilities with more noteworthy profundity and equilibrium. Adolescence, 5 years to 12 years. This period is otherwise called school time of a singular's life. He invests great measure of energy of her day in school, despite the fact that we likewise need to comprehend the setting wherein youngsters couldn't reach to school. Their casual preparation go on in the family. In this stage, a youngster figures out how to look at between himself, herself as well as other people. This correlation happen comparable to sports, test results and distinction. In this stage, the development of a kid dials back somewhat in contrast with the previous stages, yet during this time the youngster fosters the capacity to control the prior created physiological capabilities with more noteworthy profundity and equilibrium. Early adulthood, 20 to 35 years. Early adulthood is the following stage after puberty. In this stage, a singular conveys a few characteristics of youthfulness and learns new jobs and ways of behaving as planning a future. At this stage one starts to contemplate his social obligation and responsibility and lays out various significant social connections. In this stage, the singular forms a significant relationship, for example marriage, and becomes serious towards the assumptions for the general public. At this stage one contemplates future and makes arrangements for the equivalent. Adulthood, 35 to 65 years. This stage falls practically in the center of the life. Consequently, it is likewise called middle age. In this stage the singular works and care for the family. Individual functions as capable individual from the general public withholding the social morals. In this stage, a singular endeavors to become capable in the occupation, work or expertise he processes to carry on with a superior life. Individual grasps the idea of various issues and creates abilities to tackle them. Advanced age, 65. Similar to different stages, this stage additionally has no proper age. However, the age 60 to 65, in the greater part of the way of life across the world is considered as advanced age. In this stage the individual becomes powerless and reliant upon others. There is no closure highlight this stage, it closes with the singular's life. Along these lines, we can comprehend in general human advancement by comprehensively partitioning it into 9 phases. In the following illustrations, we will likewise attempt to figure out these stages exhaustively under various hypotheses of improvement. As it has been referenced before that all individuals are unique in relation to one another here and there or the other, so let us attempt to comprehend the human improvement as a complete structure as opposed to figuring out it as a numerical equation. People are not quite the same as one another. Comparably, human gatherings, social orders in societies and so forth are additionally unique. How human improvement is conceptualized in USA may not be relevant in different provinces like India or China. However, we want to comprehend that specific viewpoints are widespread in nature like organic as we address human species. Be that as it may, since human improvement is likewise connected with social, profound, mental, political and financial angles, and there is variety with regards to this multitude of viewpoints. Hence, variety leaves how human advancement is seen and conceptualized by various gatherings. For instance, we want to comprehend that there is plausibility that youngsters in India might not have similar adolescence as kids in US have. There is likewise a likelihood that in certain societies immaturity has not been perceived as a phase and an individual maneuvers straightforwardly from youth to adulthood. We want to esteem such assorted points of view to investigate and figure out youth. Setting is exceptionally critical in figuring out human turn of events. In this way, the following piece of the illustration endeavors to figure out human advancement in the Indian setting. India is a large country, in which people of different societies, languages, dialects, religions and lifestyles live together. This togetherness constructs a unique culture. After knowing and understanding about this uniqueness, we can identify certain commonly shared characteristics of Indian context. These characteristics lead us to know some assumptions about Indian culture. Study of Indian culture describes it as a box of different philosophies, sciences, arts and folk knowledge. To understand the concept of human development in the context of India, we can take help from some different pools of knowledge. 2 aspects of life, Purusha and Prakriti. Indian psychology considers 2 universal elements, Purusha and Prakriti, the basis of human existence. In order to understand individuality in relation to Indian psychology and philosophy, it is necessary to understand these elements. For the first time, these elements were discussed in Sankhya philosophy. On the one side, Prakriti is a soul and on the other side, Purusha is the matter. Sankhya philosophy believes that without Prakriti, no element or substance can originate in this world. These are the natural forces that shape every substance of the world. Since it is not derived from any substance, it is not dependent on anyone. Indian philosophy envisions it as a free, universal, infinite and self-sustaining energy. Numerology also offers a detailed explanation of the concept of Purusha, which therefore sees it as a consciousness and a conductor. It is also very important to understand here that Purusha here does not mean masculinity at all, but it is independent from all effects of mind, intellect and ego. Consciousness exists in both Purusha and Prakriti, but in Purusha consciousness exists in active form, whereas in Prakriti this consciousness is present in passive state. Both Purusha and Prakriti create all the dimensions of life in the world through interaction. Wisdom, ego, mind and senses all are originated from this interaction, and these elements form basis of the emergence of an individual. Since consciousness is preconditioned to this interaction, it is also free. Consciousness is always present as a coordinator and energy in the individual's life. The quality of consciousness arises from the interaction between Purusha and Prakriti in individual. Through all these processes and interactions, the emergence and development of an individual becomes possible. Indian philosophy tries to understand individuality different from Western philosophy. It talks of its many layers. The principle of Panchakosha's 5 layers or levels constitute complete individuality of a person. Familiarity with these 5 layers help us to understand the Panchkosha approach. Panchkosha approach Indian philosophy and psychology take support from various concepts to understand and explain the nature of individual and its development, among which the Panchkosha approach is important one. This concept is based on the principle of the 5 koshas, which describe the 5 different stages of development. In these stages an individual moves from outer world to inner self. We can call it individual's journey towards his, her self. In this journey an individual not only knows his, her physical nature, but also knows his, her spiritual consciousness and psychological nature. In the process of knowing, it includes discovering and understanding new possibilities and dimensions of self. In other words, Panchakoshas are the 5 levels through which we travel from our physical state to our unconscious mind. Each kosha has its own special features which controls and directs the thoughts, feelings, deeds, desires etc. of a human being. The Panchakosh Siddhanta is an in-depth study of the physical and spiritual levels of the existence of an individual. This helps in understanding the structure of one's body and mind, actions based on them and how can they be controlled. Knowledge of Panchkosha forms the basis of efficient and meaningful practice of yoga. Since it speaks of the origin, formation and control of the individual, it is also multidimensional in nature. Following are 5 levels of Panchkosha: Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanmaya Kosha, Anandmaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha. It is a physical kosha. It's macro and manifested in nature. This kosha is the basic kosha of human existence. Since the body gets nourishment and energy from this kosha itself, it becomes very vital among all. It is the most physical presentation of an individual's existence. Since it is the first kosha in the outer order, layer, philosophers also define it as the outer kosha. This kosha is governed by food. Compared to all koshas, it is highly physical. Some philosophers also call it the creation of 5 Mahabhutas. 5 Mahabhutas are the 5 elements with which body is formed. These are the 5 great powers: sky, air, water, fire and soil. Pranamaya Kosha is the life force. It is a clear expression of life. This kosha works on the principle of combining both body and mind together. In this philosophy, breathing is considered to be its physical manifestation. Its absence is the absence of life. In simple words, air is the main element of this kosha. This entire kosha operates by air. It includes the process of breathing and sending it to every cell inside the body. Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha together operationalize the physical body of an organism. The function of Pranamaya Kosha is often divided into 5 parts. These are called Panch Prana. These 5 parts of Panch Prana are Prana, Apang, Saman, Udan and Vyan. The position of prana is somewhere between the respiratory tract and the throat. The position of Apang is near the navel, which is related to intestine, kidney, etc. We can relate the Saman to digestion. Udan is related to eyes, nose, particle etc. Vyang is a type of life force that controls and regulates all physical activities. Manomaya Kosha. Manomaya means the expression of manas. An individual's desires, thoughts and experiences are the key elements of this kosha. The mind combines with the 5 parts of the body, i.e. tongue, nose, eyes, ears and skin to form the Manomaya Kosha. Duality, diversity and differentiation are common phenomena in this kosha. It accepts all the messages that are received from outside world. It does not only receive the messages but it also analyzes them. The purpose of analysis is to determine good, bad, right, wrong etc. It also controls the Annamaya Kosha and the Pranamaya Kosha to a large extent, so we can consider it as a basic, fundamental kosha of human existence. This kosha is also called the most fickle kosha. It is a difficult task to command over it. There are 4 main forms of the mind: the Shvavayas mind, the Sattva mind, the Sarvandriya mind and the Indriya mind. Vijnanmaya Kosha. It is also called the knowledge kosha. It is an expression of knowledge and intelligence in an individual. The primary feature of this layer is to interact with sensory organs. The sensory organs help an individual to perform actions of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching etc. This kosha is the representative of knowledge and intelligence, but still it is not at a higher level among other koshas, due to its insubstantial, temporary and unstable nature. The working nature of this kosher is that of an unconscious mind and an accumulator of information. This kosher imparts rationality and intelligence to an individual's thoughts and behavior. It is most active at the deepest state of meditation. In this state, it attains permanence and makes the mind calm and comfortable. According to Indian philosophy, the Vijnana kosha consists of 5 knowledge senses and intelligence. Anandmay kosha. It is the innermost layer of an individual. Its root is so deep that it reaches close to the soul. This is the highest state of bliss in individual. Here enjoyment does not refer to physical or psychological enjoyment, but enjoyment here refers to the type of spiritual bliss. This kosha is an expression of the 3 major characteristics of the soul, the chitta, the satta and the ananda. This kosha is related to the ultimate truth. The field of work of this kosha can begin only in unplumbed sleep and trance. Yoga suggests many ways to awaken this kosha, so that one can reach the ultimate state of meditation and samadhi. Taittiriya Upanishad mentions this kosha as follows. This sutra explains the importance of Anandamay kosha with various ornaments. According to this, the blissful shell is the inner Braham of the Vijnana Jivatma. This sutra compare Anandmay kosha with a bird, whose head is Priyabhava, and the 2 wings are Mod and Pramod. In this sutra, Anandamay kosha is considered to be the central part of God and Brahma has been considered as its tail. In other and simple words, this sutra of Taittiriya Upanishad defines Anandamay kosha as the most important aspect of Jivatma. This sutra presents Mod, Pramod, Priyabhava etc. as different dimensions of the Anandamay kosha. This sutra also positions the blissful thesaurus in the relationship between the soul to God. Since the blissful shell is the innermost shell, it is a complex task to awaken or activate it, but once an individual reaches this stage, then he rises above all the materiality of the world and reaches to the state of ultimate ecstasy. In Indian context, human development has also been understood through 4 main stages. An attempt has been made to limit the entire journey of human life in these 4 stages. These 4 stages keep the psychosocial aspects of human life at the center and look at human life from a wider perspective. We know and understand these 4 stages as Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Indian philosophy and psychology also tries to see these 4 stages in terms of spiritual significance and relevance. To know about these stages, we need to know the concepts and characteristics of these stages. Brahmacharya. This stage is considered as a stage of learning and training. In this stage the individual lives as a learner. Since this stage is the initial stage of human life, one learns various essential life skills. An individual not only acquires knowledge and skills at this stage, but also learns the practical aspects of life. This stage starts from childhood and ends up toward the last years of teenage. This stage has also been seen as a stage of training for the preparation of life, to become an efficient member of social, cultural, political and economic world. Grihastha. This stage starts from the early period of puberty and goes up to the middle adulthood. In this stage an individual carries out her social responsibilities and stays at the center of family life. Marriage, reproduction, and family are the core of this stage. Via family life, an individual fulfills his various social responsibilities and expectations of society. At this stage one is expected to fulfill all the responsibilities of his family and establish harmony in the society. Vanaprastha. An individual steps in this stage after living adulthood and when the individual completed all family responsibilities. In this stage one has to adopt a highly disciplined lifestyle and maintain distance from all luxuries. This stage can also be seen as a preparation of the sannyasa stage. In this stage an individual practices to limit and control her daily needs while learning to stay away from social life and learns to live with minimum needs. Sannyasa. This stage is the last stage of an individual's life. In this stage, the individual completely detached from family, social, economic and political relations. This stage is also seen as a state of detachment. In this stage, one becomes absolute and indifferent with regard to the feelings of sorrow, happiness, love, malice and gain. An individual moves towards spirituality and philosophy and renounces all kinds of selfishness and luxury in this stage. In the last of this stage, one attains self-actualization, i.e. moksha. Buddhist philosophy has also presented some interpretations in relation to human development, which is discussed below briefly. Concept of karma. The fundamental element of Buddhism is its concept of karma, and this philosophy assumes that karma is related to the whole human development. The kind of conduct an individual pursues is going to affect her entire life. In the view of Buddhist philosophy of life, the life cycle of an individual continues even after death, and the work done by the individual determines her future.